Humiliated by my wife. In front of everyone, until I revealed what I knew all along. Us cheating exposed. Sweet. Revenge. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss another true story. Have you ever had that moment when your entire world shifts on its axis? When everything you thought was real suddenly reveals itself to be an elaborate lie? That moment happened to me 6 months ago, at what was supposed to be a celebration of love, my 10th wedding anniversary party. I'm sharing this story not for sympathy or attention, but because keeping it bottled up inside has become impossible. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs to hear that even when you think your life is shattered beyond repair, there can be a path forward, one that sometimes includes a healthy serving of justice. The perfect life, or so I thought. Let me take you back to the beginning. My name is Daniel, and until recently I was living what many would consider the dream. I had a successful career as an architectural engineer, a beautiful home in the suburbs, and a marriage that I believed was rock solid. My wife, Rebecca, worked as an executive assistant at a prestigious law firm downtown. We met in college, the classic story of friends who became something more after a drunken confession at a party revealed mutual feelings. We'd been together for 12 years, married for 10. We didn't have children, a mutual decision to focus on our careers first, with plans to reconsider after we both hit 35. Instead, we had date nights every Friday, weekend trips to wineries or hiking trails, and a close circle of friends who'd been with us through every milestone. Our 10th anniversary was approaching, and I wanted to do something special. Something that would show Rebecca how much these 10 years had meant to me, and how excited I was for our future together. So I planned a surprise party, inviting 60 of our closest friends and family members to our favorite restaurant, the Millstone, the same place where I'd proposed a decade earlier. I spent weeks coordinating with the restaurant manager, selecting Rebecca's favorite foods for the menu, and arranging for a string quartet to play our wedding song when we arrived. I hired a photographer to capture the evening, and even flew in her sister from Australia as an extra surprise. I had our wedding video edited into a beautiful montage that would play during dinner, highlighting our best moments together. The piece de resistance was my anniversary gift, a custom-designed diamond eternity band that I'd worked with a jeweler to create, featuring stones that matched the exact blue-green color of her eyes. It cost nearly 3 months' salary, but seeing her face when she opened it would be worth every penny. At least, that was the plan. That night, everything changed. April 14th arrived, our anniversary. I told Rebecca we had a simple dinner reservation at the Millstone to celebrate, just the two of us. She seemed distracted that morning, checking her phone more than usual and disappearing for a work call that lasted nearly an hour. I didn't think much of it. Her law firm was handling a major case, and her boss had been demanding extra hours from everyone. "Everything okay?" I asked when she finally emerged from our home office, looking flushed. "Fine, just work stuff," she replied, not quite meeting my eyes. "James needs some files reorganized before a client meeting on Monday." James Parker, her boss, a name I'd heard with increasing frequency over the past year. I had met him a few times at company functions. Tall, conventionally handsome in that silver fox way, recently divorced, and at least 15 years older than us. He always seemed perfectly pleasant, if a bit arrogant. Rebecca spoke highly of him, mentioning how he was grooming her for a practice manager position. Again, I thought nothing of it. Why would I? In 10 years, Rebecca had never given me reason to doubt her loyalty. We were solid, unshakable. The couple others looked at with envy. That evening, Rebecca spent nearly 2 hours getting ready. Unusual for a simple dinner, but I figured she was just excited about our anniversary, too. She emerged looking stunning in a new dress I hadn't seen before. A fitted black number that hugged every curve, with a neckline that dipped lower than her usual style. Her hair was styled in loose waves, and she wore the perfume I had given her last Christmas. "You look incredible," I told her, meaning every word. "Thank you," she said, smoothing her dress nervously. "I just wanted tonight to be special." If only she knew how special I'd actually made it. We arrived at the millstone at precisely 7:30 p.m. The hostess gave me a subtle nod as we entered, and I squeezed Rebecca's hand in excitement. "Our table should be ready," I said, leading her toward the private back room. "Actually," Rebecca said, suddenly stopping in the main dining area, "can we sit at the bar for a bit first? I could use a drink before dinner." This wasn't part of the plan. 60 people were waiting to surprise her just behind those doors. "I think we should go straight to our table," I insisted gently. "I'm starving, and I know how long the bar can take with drinks on a Saturday." She acquiesced reluctantly, and I guided her toward the private room. When the doors opened and everyone shouted, "Surprise!" the look on Rebecca's face was not what I expected. Rather than joy or amazement, I saw shock bordering on horror, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for someone or confirming someone's absence. Still, she recovered quickly, pasting on a smile and accepting hugs and congratulations from our guests. I was too elated to dwell on that initial reaction, too caught up in the success of my surprise to notice how her eyes kept flicking toward the entrance, or how she kept checking her phone under the table. Dinner was served, toasts were made, and the evening progressed beautifully. The string quartet played our song as the dessert, a replica of our wedding cake, was brought out. This was the moment I'd planned for the gift presentation and my heartfelt speech about our decade together. I clinked my glass to get everyone's attention, and the room fell silent. 10 years ago, I began, my voice thick with emotion. "I married my best friend. Rebecca, you have made every day since then an adventure and a joy. Even when life got hard, having you by my side made it bearable." Rebecca's smile seemed frozen, her eyes suspiciously bright. I continued, reaching into my pocket for the jewelry box. "They say a successful marriage requires falling in love many times, always with the same person. I have fallen in love with you over and over again throughout these years, and I look forward to continuing that pattern for decades to come." I opened the box, revealing the sparkling band inside. "This ring represents my endless love for you. No beginning, no end. Just like us." The room collectively sighed. My mother was openly weeping. Rebecca's sister was recording everything on her phone. That's when Rebecca stood up, wine glass in hand. I thought she was going to respond with her own toast. Instead, she took a long sip, set down her glass with shaking hands, and said words that will be forever burned into my memory. "I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving you, Daniel. I'm in love with someone else." The silence that followed was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop as 60 pairs of eyes darted between us in collective shock. What?" I stammered, still holding the open jewelry box. "Rebecca, what are you talking about?" "I've been trying to find the right time to tell you," she continued, her voice growing stronger. "This isn't working. Hasn't been for a long time. We've grown apart. I've changed. I need something different." My mind struggled to process her words. This had to be a joke, albeit a cruel one. But Rebecca's face showed no signs of humor. only a strange mixture of defiance and relief. "Who?" I managed to ask, though part of me already knew the answer. Rebecca lifted her chin. "James, we've been seeing each other for 8 months. He makes me feel alive, Daniel, passionate, valued for my mind being, not just as someone's wife." The murmurs that broke out around the room sounded distant, as if I were underwater. James Parker, her boss, the late nights at the office, the weekend work emergencies, the new clothes, the increased gym visits, all the pieces clicked into horrible place. "You're leaving me for your boss?" My voice sounded hollow, unrecognizable even to my own ears. "And you're announcing this at our anniversary party, in front of everyone we know?" "I'm sorry for the timing," she said, not sounding particularly sorry. "But when I saw all this, the party, the video, the ring, I realized I couldn't keep pretending. It's not fair to either of us." My mother rushed to my side. Rebecca's sister stopped recording, her face a mask of embarrassment. Friends shifted uncomfortably in their seats, unsure where to look or what to do in the face of such a public implosion. I should have broken down, should have begged her to reconsider, should have crumpled in humiliation at being so thoroughly blindsided in front of everyone who mattered to us. Instead, something strange happened. A cold calm washed over me as pieces of a puzzle I hadn't even known I was solving suddenly aligned in my mind. 8 months, I repeated slowly. "That's interesting timing, Rebecca." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "That would be right around when you started handling the firm's intellectual property accounts, wouldn't it? When James gave you access to the patent applications?" Rebecca's face changed, the triumphant defiance faltering into confusion. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the Hartwick development proposal," I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. "The one my firm has been working on for 3 years. The one that mysteriously had a competing bid from Simpson and Barnes, James's biggest client, using suspiciously similar design elements." The room had gone deathly quiet again. Rebecca's face had drained of color. I turned to our assembled guests. "What my wife doesn't know is that I suspected an information leak months ago. I created false blueprints with deliberate flaws that showed up in the competing bid, proving corporate espionage." I turned it back to Rebecca. "I hired a private investigator 3 months ago, not knowing who at my firm might be compromised. Imagine my surprise when he traced the leak not to any of my colleagues, but to my own home IP address. To files accessed under your user profile, Rebecca." Her glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the hardwood floor. No one moved to clean it up. "The affair was a bonus discovery," I continued, unable to stop now that the words were flowing. "The investigator provided quite the comprehensive file. Hotel receipts, text messages, photos of you entering his apartment building at night and leaving in the morning. I've known about James for months." Rebecca's mouth opened and closed, but no sound emerged. "I was waiting to confront you until after I met with the FBI. Yes, the FBI, because what you did isn't just unethical, it's federal corporate espionage. That meeting is scheduled for Monday morning." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a USB drive, holding it up for everyone to see. "Everything's here. The evidence of the leak, the affair, all of it. I brought it tonight because, after the party, I was going to tell you everything privately and give you a chance to explain before things went nuclear." I laughed mirthlessly. "But you beat me to the punch with your dramatic confession. So here we are." Rebecca had gone from pale to gray. "Daniel, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I cut her off. You and James thought you were so clever. He seduces the architect's wife, gets access to proprietary designs worth millions, and you get what exactly? A promotion? A married lover? The thrill of betraying someone who trusted you completely? I pocketed the USB drive and closed the jewelry box with a definitive snap. Everyone, I apologize for the unexpected drama, I addressed our guests. Please stay and enjoy the rest of the food and drinks. It's all paid for. I'll be going now. Rebecca, I suggest you call James, and a good lawyer. You're both going to need one. And with that, I walked out of our anniversary party, leaving my unfaithful wife standing amid the wreckage of our marriage and her future career. The aftermath. The next 48 hours passed in a blur. I checked into a hotel, ignoring the barrage of calls and texts from Rebecca, from friends, from family. I needed space to breathe, to process the public implosion of my marriage, albeit not in the way I'd anticipated. By Sunday evening, I couldn't avoid reality any longer. I returned to our home to find Rebecca sitting on the couch, surrounded by tissues, looking shell-shocked. "Is it true?" she asked when I walked in. "About the FBI?" I set down my overnight bag. "Yes." "And you've known about James and me for months?" 3 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days, I confirmed, though I suspected longer. Rebecca's swollen eyes fixed on mine. "Why didn't you say anything? Why keep planning an anniversary party if you knew?" The question was so absurd I almost laughed. "I was gathering evidence, Rebecca. And foolishly, I kept hoping there might be some explanation that didn't involve you betraying both our marriage and my career." "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she whispered. "No," I agreed. "You were probably planning a more private execution of our marriage. Less witnesses." "That's not what I meant." She stood up, running hands through her disheveled hair. "James said no one would get hurt. The designs were just inspiration, not direct copies. It wasn't stealing, just competitive research." "Tell that to the federal investigators," I replied coldly. "Accessing confidential, proprietary designs through deception and using them for competitive advantage is the textbook definition of corporate espionage." "I didn't know it would go that far." Her voice rose in desperation. "It started with just talking about your work, general things, then more specific questions. By the time I realized what he was doing, I was already in too deep. And yet you continued the affair, continued feeding him information." "I loved him," she said simply, as if that explained everything. "Or I thought I did." "Past tense?" I raised an eyebrow. "Has the bloom already faded from your passionate romance?" Rebecca's face crumpled. "He won't take my calls since the party. His secretary says he's unavailable indefinitely. His lawyer sent me a message warning against contacting him again." So James had already cut her loose. I wasn't surprised. Men like him survived by ensuring they always had a convenient scapegoat. "I'm staying with my sister tonight," Rebecca said, gesturing to a suitcase by the door. "I assume you'll want me to move out permanently." "That would be best," she nodded, then asked in a small voice, "Are you really going to the FBI tomorrow?" I looked at this woman, this stranger wearing my wife's face, and felt a curious mixture of rage, pity, and exhaustion. "The meeting is at 9 a.m., I confirmed. "What happens next depends partly on how cooperative you are. If you testify against James and provide details about what information was shared, your own legal consequences might be mitigated." Hope flickered briefly in her eyes. "I'll tell them everything. It was mostly James. He manipulated me, used our relationship to extract information. The speed with which she threw her lover under the bus was almost impressive. I wondered if she'd describe our marriage with similar revisionist clarity someday. That's between you, James, the FBI, and your respective attorneys now, I said wearily. I'm done being in the middle of it. Rebecca picked up her suitcase. At the door, she paused. I did love you once, Daniel. Very much. I believe you, I replied. But that almost makes it worse. After she left, I wandered through our home, now just my home, touching photographs, shared souvenirs, the physical artifacts of our decade together. Each item seemed to mock me now, evidence of my blind trust and obliviousness. The doorbell rang. It was Rebecca's sister, Kate, looking uncomfortable but determined. I know this is awkward, she said when I opened the door, but I wanted to give you this. She handed me a thumb drive. What's this? I asked. The video I took at the party. I thought you might want it, for the FBI or whatever. It has Rebecca's confession about the affair's duration, which corroborates your timeline. I accepted the drive, surprised. Aren't you supposed to be on her side? Kate sighed heavily. I love my sister, but what she did was wrong on every level. And for what it's worth, I always thought you were too good for her. After she left, I poured myself a scotch and opened my laptop. Against my better judgment, I inserted Kate's drive and watched the video. There I was, earnest and loving, offering Rebecca a symbol of eternal commitment. And there she was, destroying it all in 20 seconds of brutal honesty. The camera captured everything. My shock, her defiance, the horrified reactions of our guests. Then my unexpected countermove, and Rebecca's stunned disintegration as her plan imploded. It was painful to watch, but also strangely vindicating. In the video, I appeared far more composed than I'd felt in the moment. My words were clear, my evidence damning. I looked not like a victim, but like someone who had seized control of an impossible situation. I saved the file, ejected the drive, and added it to my evidence folder for the morning meeting. Justice served. The FBI meeting went exactly as my lawyer and I had anticipated. I provided all the evidence, the falsified blueprints with their deliberate errors, the competing designs with those same unique flaws, the digital trail leading back to my home network, and the surveillance photos documenting Rebecca and James's affair. Rebecca arrived separately with her own attorney. She looked terrible, pale and sleep-deprived, wearing clothes that seemed hastily selected. But she was cooperative, confirming everything I'd presented and providing additional details about how James had systematically extracted information from her. He would ask questions after intimate moments, she explained haltingly to the agents. When my guard was down, he made it seem casual, just professional curiosity. The agents remained impassive, taking notes without comment. By the end of that week, both Rebecca and James had been formally charged, he with multiple counts of corporate espionage, and she as an accessory. James's law firm placed him on indefinite leave pending investigation. Their client, Simpson and Barnes, publicly distanced themselves from the scandal, withdrawing their competing bid for the Hartwick project. My own firm was initially suspicious of my involvement until the FBI clarified that I had been instrumental in uncovering the espionage. The false blueprints had been my idea, created specifically to catch the leak. My position was secure, strengthened even by my handling of the situation. The legal proceedings dragged on for months. Rebecca ultimately accepted a plea deal in exchange for testifying against James. She received probation, community service, and a permanent mark on her record that would make finding comparable employment nearly impossible. James wasn't so lucky. He faced jail time and disbarment. Throughout this period, news of our dramatic anniversary party spread through our social circle and beyond. I received countless messages of support and more than a few dinner invitations from suddenly single acquaintances. I declined them all, needing time to process everything that had happened. Rebecca moved to her parents' home in Ohio. Our house sold as part of the divorce settlement. We communicated only through attorneys, the woman I'd built a life with, effectively becoming a stranger in the span of a single evening. 6 months later. It's been exactly half a year since that fateful anniversary party. The divorce is final. The legal proceedings against James are ongoing, but Rebecca's part in them is complete. My firm won the Hartwick development contract, and I have been promoted to lead architect for the project. Externally, my life has moved forward. Internally, I'm still healing. I've learned painful lessons about trust, about the false security of routine, about how well we can know, or fail to know, those closest to us. I've discovered strength I didn't realize I possessed and support from unexpected sources. Last week, I received a letter from Rebecca, the first direct communication since she moved out. I considered throwing it away unread, but ultimately decided that closure required courage. The letter was brief. Daniel, there's nothing I can say to undo what I did to you, to us. Sorry is laughably inadequate, but I am sorry, sorrier than you can imagine. You asked me once what I got out of betraying you. I've had months of therapy and soul-searching to find the answer. The truth is pathetically simple. Attention, validation, the intoxicating feeling of being wanted not for stability or partnership, but for excitement and forbidden knowledge. James never loved me. I see that now. I was a means to an end, access to your work. The cruel irony is that I destroyed something real, for something that was never genuine to begin with. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that you were not the problem in our marriage. The flaws were mine. The failures were mine. You deserved so much better than what I became. I hope someday you find someone worthy of your trust. You have so much love to give, Daniel. Don't let my betrayal steal that from the world. Rebecca. I folded the letter carefully and put it away, not to treasure it, but to acknowledge it as part of my story, a chapter closed but not forgotten. That night, I invited friends over for the first time since everything fell apart. Nothing fancy, just pizza and beer and conversation that carefully avoided mention of Rebecca, or anniversaries or betrayal. It felt normal. Then again, normal has been redefined in my world. As they were leaving, my college friend Mark hung back. "You know what I admire most about how you handled everything?" he said, surprising me with the direct reference to what everyone had been avoiding all evening. "What's that?" I asked cautiously. "You didn't let her humiliate you. When she tried to destroy you publicly, you were prepared. You turned the tables, not out of vengeance, but because you'd done your homework and protected yourself." He clapped my shoulder. "That's rare, man. Most of us would have crumbled." His words stayed with me after he left. Had I been strong or merely lucky? The private investigator had been a desperate move born of suspicion and insecurity. Finding evidence of both infidelity and corporate espionage had been a horrible shock, not a strategic plan. Yet, when the moment of public reckoning arrived, when Rebecca chose our anniversary party for her dramatic exit, I had been prepared. Not emotionally, perhaps, but factually. And sometimes, facts are the best armor against emotional devastation. The lessons learned. If there's any wisdom I can share from this experience, it's this. 1. Trust your instincts. The small inconsistencies I noticed in Rebecca's behavior, the increased phone guarding, the unnecessary work emergencies, the subtle changes in how she dressed and spoke about her boss, were all signals I initially dismissed. 2. Protect yourself. The private investigator and false blueprints weren't signs of a healthy marriage, but they provided irrefutable evidence when I needed it most. 3. Control your narrative. Rebecca thought she was writing our ending when she stood up at that party. She never imagined I might have a different final chapter prepared. 4. Choose dignity over drama. Walking away from that party rather than creating a bigger scene gave me control in a moment designed to strip it from me. 5. Allow yourself to grieve. Despite the betrayal, despite the evidence, despite everything, losing a decade-long relationship hurts. Acknowledging that pain doesn't negate the strength it took to stand up for myself. Do I regret those 10 years with Rebecca? No. They shaped me, taught me, brought me joy for much longer than they brought me pain. The person I was with her, trusting, open, optimistic, is someone I don't want to lose completely, even as I become more cautious about who earns that trust in the future. As for Rebecca's wish that I find someone worthy of my trust someday, that remains to be seen. For now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my relationship with myself, understanding who I am outside the identity of husband or betrayed spouse. The Diamond Eternity Band sits in my safe, a reminder not of endless love, but of how quickly forever can end. Someday, perhaps, I'll sell it and use the money for something healing. A trip, a charity donation, a fresh start somewhere new. Until then, I'm taking life one day at a time, finding strength in the knowledge that even public humiliation couldn't break me. When Rebecca tried to shatter our world on her terms, I had the presence of mind and the evidence to ensure we both faced the consequences of her choices, not just mine. That's not revenge. That's justice. And sometimes, justice is the best closure you can hope for. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you or helped you in some way, please like and subscribe. Remember, it's not the fall that defines you, but how you pick yourself up afterward.